and I'm delighted to hand over to Gordon, who is going to take us through, oh my God, they don't speak English.
Thank you. It's not, oh my God, they don't speak English. It's, oh my God, they don't speak English. Because all of us have been at that panicking point where we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. Or if we haven't, we've met other teachers who are panicking. So the question for me is, how do we stop teachers panicking? And of course, there's two particular questions. What am I supposed to do? And how on earth is that going to be possible? And those are the two questions that are in my mind when I'm talking to teachers. But instead of me talking, I've actually made a video, and I'm going to play that now if this works. There we are.
Hello, language teachers. I want to tell you about my campaign. It's called OI, and OI stands for Organise Interaction. When we're thinking about teaching, we're constantly thinking about what we are going to teach the children. I'm suggesting that, in fact, the most important thing we should think about is how we organise the children to speak to each other. Because children learn so much quicker if they're speaking, and if they're speaking to other children rather than to adults. So I've written Racing to English, which has over 350 language teaching activities on it, all of which focus on getting children to interact with each other and talk to each other. And I want to show you one of them now, which will not only illustrate the sort of work I do, it will also illustrate the key principles of all language teaching, I hope. The game is called the Shape Monsters game, and you can see my baseboard here with the shapes on it. Two teams, one or two people in each team. First team picks up a card, and there's their shape monster, and it's got a hexagonal body and a rectangular head, so it can go on a hexagon or a rectangle. Okay, you must say the sentence. My shape monster has got a hexagonal body, and then it's Green's turn. My shape monster has got a semicircular head. Oh, wrong way. And so on. You take it in turns until one of you gets a line of 4, horizontally, diagonally, or vertically.
Yeah, we've just done it.
Sometimes the whole board gets full, but nobody's got 4 in a line. So that's no problem. Count up how many 3 in a line you've got. Well, Green's got 1 here, 2 here. Pink has got 1, 2, 3. So pink is the winner. Well, of course, I wrote that activity, so I think it's just wonderful. But assuming you think it's at least reasonable, what's good about it? That's the question I'd like you to consider. What was good about that activity?
Stop. Right, okay. My crib sheet says mouse click to pause video, but it didn't pause it. It's stop, go to the end. So we'll have a bit of a fuss and bother in a minute. But my question was, what's good about that activity? Has anybody sort of seen enough of it to begin to think what might be good about that activity? Would you mind speaking? I know it's a bit frightening, and you can't see my face either, which is not good.
Promotes talk between children.
Yes, thank you, Sophie. That's the most important thing for me. That's what we need to be doing, is getting kids to talk to each other. I think that's the most valuable thing we can do, because we can get it wrong and they'll still be really learning. Okay, anybody else see anything good about it?
Promotes turn taking and game playing.
Ooh, there's all sorts of social stuff going on here, and then that's really good because often EAL children are sort of on the edge of groups, especially because they don't speak English. So getting them mixing with other children and learning those sorts of skills is really important.
I have a chance to teach specific vocabulary if you want to.
I mean, absolutely right. Because what I'd got there was very specific vocabulary. I knew exactly what language I wanted the children to learn. And you will notice it was hexagonal. I think I'm going to say this in a minute. Hexagonal, not hexagon. And I even knew the sentence that I wanted them to learn. So that's always helpful. Now, none of this, they will learn even if you don't do it right, especially if we get them mixing with other kids. But if we can get language aims like that, it's really super. Anybody else got any other good ideas?
It encourages them to talk in full sentences.
Oh, yes. Right. Well, there's two. You've just said two really important things. The first thing is it encourages them to speak. You can't learn a language silently. You've actually got to get it coming out of your mouth. So this does encourage them to speak. It's also sort of fun. So really, they are not so worried about making a fool of themselves. Oh, and you said two things. You said encourage them to speak. I can't remember what the other thought was.
I said encourages them to talk in full sentences.
Oh, full sentences. Thank you very much.
That's all right.
The trouble of being almost 80. Right, full sentences. Absolutely superb, because kids, well, actually learners of a foreign language or a second language often just fix on the nouns and they don't get the whole sentence structure. And that's fine if you just want to get by for a holiday, but it's no good if you're going to get your SATs and your GCSEs. Okay, that was brilliant. Anybody else got anything? There's just, no, I'm not sure whether you've got to listen to that again. Can I speed through this, Vicky? Vicky, is there a way of speeding through
Hello,
this?
language teachers. I want to tell you about my campaign.
Sorry, you're going to
It's
listen to it
called
again.
OI.
It doesn't seem to be there.
And OI stands for Organise Interaction. When we're thinking about teaching, we're constantly thinking about what we are going to teach the children. I'm suggesting that, in fact, the most important thing we should think about is how we organise the children to speak to each other. Because children learn so much quicker if they're speaking, and if they're speaking to other children rather than to adults. So I've written Racing to English, which has over 350 language teaching activities on it, all of which focus on getting children to interact with each other and talk to each other. And I want to show you one of them now, which will not only illustrate the sort of work I do, it will also illustrate the key principles of all language teaching, I hope. The game is called the Shape Monsters game, and you can see my baseboard here with the shapes on it. Two teams, one or two people in each team. First team picks up a card, and there's their shape monster, and it's got a hexagonal body and a rectangular head, so it can go on a hexagon or a rectangle. Okay, you must say the sentence. My shape monster has got a hexagonal body, and then it's green's turn. My shape monster has got a semicircular head. Oh, wrong way. And so on. You take it in turns until one of you gets a line of 4, horizontally, diagonally, or vertically. Sometimes the whole board gets full, but nobody's got 4 in a line. So that's no problem. Count up how many 3 in a line you've got. Well, green's got 1 here, 2 here. Pink has got 1, 2, 3. So pink is the winner. Well, of course, I wrote that activity, so I think it's just wonderful. But assuming you think it's at least reasonable, what's good about it? That's the question I'd like you to consider. What was good about that activity? Well, I wonder what ideas you had saying why that was a good activity. And the first one, of course, is interaction. Learners have to interact with each other in order to play the game, which is brilliant. And the other thing, the most wonderful thing for language learning, is a huge amount of repetition. I remember when I was learning to be a language teacher, my lecturer said, learners have got to hear something 7 times before they remember it. Yes, right. I'd been teaching 4 years by then. Some of my children, 7 times? No. They needed 77 times, and 1 or 2 of them 777 times. So I think you need a huge amount of repetition. So we got that, and of course it wasn't boring because it was game-like. In fact, it was fun, and that's my third point. Learning a language can be not only difficult, but quite upsetting at times, and if you make it fun, then people are joining in and feel very confident and enjoy themselves. So fun is important. Those little pictures that we were using on the game are also great because they give visual support. understanding is absolutely fundamental and crucial to all language learning. And even those little pictures gave a help to that understanding. So visual support is superb. And did you notice that I knew exactly the language I wanted the children to use, right down to the word itself, and certainly the sentence. The sentence was, my shaped monster has got a something shape. And it wasn't a circle. It wasn't a circle or a rectangle. It was circular, rectangular, a rectangular body, a hexagonal body. It was the adjective I needed. That one level up. So know exactly what you want the children to learn is very helpful. And finally, well, the two most important things, don't forget them: interaction and repetition. Well, that's all I want to say about the Shape Monsters game. There are lots of other Line of 4 games on Racing to English, and they're pretty easy to make yourself. So why don't you go and make some for your students and have some fun yourself?
Okay. Are there any questions or comments or your experiences to share that you'd like to share with other people? Please don't all speak at once. It clouds things. No?
I had a little girl last year in year 1 who was a Ukrainian refugee, and she came with no English whatsoever. We was quite lucky with that particular child, though. She was a greater deaf child. She was very, very clever. So she managed, with intervention, she managed to pick up English really quickly. But I did things, because we don't have TAs in our school, so I would do things with her, like playing Snap. We would do like a picture dictionary. So she would, like, there might be a word on it like ruler. I would say the English, she would repeat it back to me, and then she would draw a picture of it. So she'd have her own like English dictionary with pictures, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, visual aids and real objects, absolutely amazing, because its understanding is first. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Because you're lucky with younger children. The younger the children are, the quicker they'll learn another language.
Yeah, I've noticed this year. That was in year 1 last year, and this year I'm in year 3, and a third of my class is EAL. And we've got some children who are EAL, and English is their first language. English really is their first language. They speak their home language at home, but really, most of them are more confident in English than they are the home language. However, then we've got some children that are the other spectrum of EAL, and they're either SEN and EAL, or they're EAL where their English is not great at the moment. And it's hard. I think it's hard. I can see it's harder for them.
Yes.
The ones who are newer to English and slightly older, where I was in contrast where I was in year 1, I have seen that it's harder for them to pick up vocabulary than it was with the younger children.
There's something about the brain that closes down about the age 7. And,
I think as well. Yeah, I think as well, like in Key Stage 1, there was a lot more opportunity for learning through play and having that freedom of children to just go up to other children and start a conversation or picking up objects. And whereas in Key Stage 2, where it's very structured and very sat down and very regimented with the lessons that you have in the day, I think that chance for interaction, other than break time and lunchtime, it's quite hard, especially if you don't have another adult to facilitate something. It's quite hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just highlighted the most important things of interaction and sorry, lost the other one. Got to stop being old. What do we have? Okay, thanks, Sophie. That was brilliant. Anybody else got any experiences they'd like to share or questions they'd like to ask? Okay, shall I take that as a no? The other things I was going to share are just really what Racing to English is all about. And you were just, Sophie was just talking about a picture dictionary. So we have 3 stages. Stage 1 is for 0 beginners. They know absolutely no English whatsoever. And at the heart of that are 38 photo sets, also about 30 games, but anyway, 38 photo sets. And each of the photo sets has a dictionary page like that. But the most important things are these pages here, where you print out just what you need and you cut them out, and then you can play games with those particular cards. And there's also all sorts of teacher's notes to tell you how to use them. And they also come with worksheets. And again, I'm not assuming that the children can read and write. So we've got some copying work there. We've got some matching words here and word searches. And I've got some very simple questions at this sort of level. And looking at the photo sets, you can see the examples of what we've got: family, classroom objects, people, that means girl, boy, man, woman, baby, some clothes, some dining room furniture and knife, fork, spoon and things like that, a little bit of fruit and veg and a few animals. So that's the sort of vocabulary I was looking at in the beginning part of arriving. So that's in steps 1 and 2. And in stage 1, I also teach actions. What is he doing? He's reading. And you can see the sorts of things here: drinking a cup of tea, driving a car, running, reading a book. And again, all of those based around pictures and those picture cards. Now at stage 2, I'm looking at starting stories, both reading them and writing them. So 131 activities at stage 2, 47 stories and 36 language games. And here you can see a Guess Who game, but based on real people and real pictures and people from all different ages and races and so on. But the stories themselves, there are 2 sorts. There are a few that are written for younger children, all about Miss Keep the zookeeper. And this is introducing the simple past tense. And you can see just to the right of the monkey there, Mog the monkey, are all the past tense words. She swept the animals' cages, she bought the animal, bought. No, she went to the shop and bought it, because she buy it. And then she cooked and she took the food and she collected the empty dishes and she washed, and all the work that she did. She gets fed up in the story and makes the animals do it, which ends up disastrously. And I've got exactly the same, a very similar story, but for older learners, based on 4 young people sharing a flat together. And this time, Maisie does all the work. And, she buys the food and cooks the food and so on. And everyone else does off their own thing. But it's exactly the same story. But the most important part in stage 2 are these stories which were written by real children. So this one was actually written by Trung, who became my foster son. Came up to me in school one day and said, "Please, sir, will you foster me?" And he had an accident and he was driving a motor scooter at age 10. That sounds a bit weird, with his little brother on the back, and he crashed and broke his leg. So there's the story, very simple because it's coming from children themselves. And also I've got this one that Wahid wrote, one about hot water. He was walking past the kitchens and they threw hot water all over him, throwing the end of the rice water out of the window. But anyway, it's a sequencing activity, so you have a page like this to cut up. And again, we're looking at interacting with children, say other children, so that they can do that together. And of course, some worksheets, simple questions getting slightly more difficult. And on the right-hand side, a mixture of interesting things like word searches, but also some challenging things like write a story about a football game or whatever it is that it's been about. And also teach the simple present tense. And here we've got another picture photo set. So a doctor treats sick people, a dentist checks your teeth, a shopkeeper sells things, and so on. And so that's stage 2. And it's getting more difficult at stage 3. So I'm introducing yet more tenses here. Have you ever taken? So you run around the track, and when you land on it, you have to ask the next person the question. And if they can answer it nicely, they can throw the dice. But at the heart of stage 3 are these more difficult, one-page still, stories based on real people like Tutankhamun or Lenny Henry, or here's Rosa Parks, and there's just an extract of the Rosa Parks thing. Again, the language is simplified, but more advanced. And again, worksheets to go with them. And some more photo sets. Here's more advanced photo sets from a trip around London. And on Racing to English, I've also got 36 videos. You've just seen the first one, I think probably the most important. But if you go to my website at the top left-hand corner there, racingtoenglish.com, and look for the videos, you can click on those and download them if you'd like to see some more. I've also got another website, racingtoenglish-updates.com, where I'm added a few new ones that aren't yet on Racing to English. I'm not quite so sure about them. We'll have a look. But now, actually, more than 370. There are actually 378 activities on Racing to English. But that's the end of my talk. So thank you for being here. If there's any more questions, I'm happy to take them. Anything more from you, Philip?
No, I'd be happy to hear any more questions that Gordon may have raised there for you. Do speak up, and as you can see, some of you are muted, but feel free to speak.
Or otherwise, we can just say goodbye.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are all these resources accessible to anyone? Are they free?
No, I'm afraid they're not.
Yeah.
I did think that might be the.
No,
Is
that's
there-
sorry,
because
Sophie.
we would really like to use them, but it's just going about how you do that. So is it just?
So-
do you just go onto the website and is it a pack? Is it like a package type? thing?
Yes, so you can go to Gordon's website and download them, and although they're not free, I think they are very reasonably priced. So they're £60 for everything that's in those 378 activities. So